U.S. and Chinese negotiators have reached a framework agreement to revive the Geneva trade truce and ease tensions over critical mineral and technology exports. Following 2 days of enhanced talks in London, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the deal would remove some of China's restrictions on rare earth minerals and magnets, a fundamental issue, and would also see the U.S. lift some of its retaliatory export controls.
We have reached a framework to implement the Geneva Consensus and the call between the two presidents, right? So that was on June 5th. So we've combined those two. We've reached a framework for implementation. Now the process will be, we're both going to go back. We, Ambassador Greer, myself, and Scott Bessent, who just left a little earlier, which you saw, because he's testifying tomorrow on the Hill. So the idea is we're going to go back and speak to President Trump and make sure he approves it. They're going to go back and speak to President Xi and make sure he approves it. And if that is approved, we will then implement the framework that we have worked hard over these last 2 days. Obviously, the team stayed at it until it was done late into the evening.
Well, that was a topic of discussion for specialists here, right? Each side had specialists to talk about fentanyl. Clearly, that's a priority for our president, and frankly, for all Americans, right? This is not a partisan issue. We would expect to see progress from the Chinese on that issue in major places.
We do absolutely expect that the topic of rare earth minerals and magnets with respect to the United States of America will be resolved in this framework implementation. That is a fundamental part of that. Also, there were a number of measures the United States of America put on when those rare earths were not coming. You should expect those to come off sort of, as President Trump said, in a balanced way. When they approve the licenses, then you should expect that our export implementation will come down as well.
双方原则上就落实两国元首6月5号通话共识以及日内瓦会谈共识达成了框架。双方将把这些会谈的情况以及原则达成的这种落实框架向各自的领导人汇报。
China's Vice Commerce Minister Li Chenggang confirmed the framework, saying it will now go to both heads of state. The two sides have, in principle, reached a framework for implementing the consensus reached by the two heads of state during the phone call on June 5th and the consensus reached at the Geneva meeting, Li told reporters. The rare earth dispute had stalled the earlier Geneva agreement. The U.S. responded to China's April export curbs with restrictions on semiconductor design tools, chemicals, and aviation technology. Lutnick hinted those measures would be lifted in balance with China easing its mineral curbs. While the London breakthrough helps prevent the unraveling of the Geneva truce, it leaves deeper U.S.-China trade differences unresolved. The Trump administration's unilateral tariffs, along with U.S. complaints about China's state-led industrial model, remain sticking points. The framework gives both sides until August 10 to finalize a comprehensive deal. If they fail, tariffs will snap back to crushing levels, 145% on U.S. imports from China and 125% on Chinese tariffs against the U.S., up from current levels of roughly 30% and 10%, respectively. Financial markets were cautiously optimistic. MSCI's Asia-Pacific Index outside Japan rose 0.2%. The rare earth resolution is pivotal. China holds a near monopoly on rare earth magnets, vital for electric vehicles and military hardware. Its April decision to cut off exports disrupted global supply chains. In retaliation, the U.S. revoked export licenses for chip design software and advanced materials. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also attended the London negotiations. Bessent left early to testify before Congress. Meanwhile, customs data showed Chinese exports to the U.S. fell 34.5% in May, the steepest plunge since the pandemic, highlighting the economic fallout. The World Bank, citing rising tariffs and uncertainty, cut its 2025 global growth forecast to 2.3%. Even with a framework in place, a federal appeals court upheld Trump's controversial 34% reciprocal tariffs, while it reviews a lower court's ruling against them. maintaining a pressure point on Beijing.